You'll be a fool to actually think you can survive this life without the help of others. Because the truth is, you can't. We all need someone to help us, someone to support us, and to push us forward so as we may be able to achieve whatever goal we have in this life. Well, that's exactly how my life has been. I've had people who have supported me, people who have been there for me, people who have sacrificed their resources just to see me through this far. And honestly, I am so much grateful. I received so many positive responses from my previous video. Thank you so much to those who gave the video a like, to those who subscribed, to those who watched. And if you haven't watched, please go watch the video, give it a like, and subscribe. Also, I promised to share my education journey with you guys. So here we go. Welcome to Veritable Talks, and this is my story. When I was joining class 7, my mom took me to this private boarding school for an interview. I was worried because one, she didn't tell me in advance that I'm going to do an interview. So I knew I'm going to fail the interview because I was from a public school and this is a private school, different exams, structured exams. So all through the journey from Mombasa to Kwale, I kept on praying and telling God, God, please make it possible that I don't do this interview. Because I knew very well that if I'm going to do the interview, I'll definitely fail and I'll have to repeat. And I didn't want to repeat. We got to the school, found the principal, Mr. Maneno, a very nice man. May God bless him. He welcomed us so well. And he said, let me call the teacher to come and interview you. So he called the first teacher, and the teacher was like, I'm sorry, sir, I'm not around. I won't be able to come. He said, okay, let me call the second teacher. He called the second teacher. Second teacher said, I'm sorry, sir, I travel out of town, so I won't be able to come. I felt so happy. Mr. Wanene said, let me call the third teacher. Well, I can't remember if he really called the teacher. All I remember is I was busy praying in my mind, telling God, God, please just hear my prayer. I don't want to do this interview. Mr. Maneno asked me, what position were you? How many marks did you have? Oh, okay. That's not bad. So what you're going to do, you just come on opening day with your sister and join class 7. I was so happy. I guess I was the happiest person that day. And I went home so happy and I really thanked God. This experience taught me that actually God hears our prayers. Whatever prayer you have, even that tiniest prayer that you just whisper without uttering a single word, God actually hears our prayers. And all He needs us to do is just have that little faith in Him. Just trust in Him in whatever thing that you want, whatever desires of your heart. Just trust in Him because He is able and He hears our prayers and He is capable of doing whatever you want. Opening day came. I joined the school with my sister. She was a class ahead of me. And I was happy. But again, I was also worried and concerned because at that time, my mom had quit her teaching job. So that means she didn't have any source of income. And it was crazy because when she was working, I was in a public school. And now that she has stopped working, she's decided to take me to a private school. I didn't know where she was going to get the school fees, but again, I decided to ride on her faith. Many times, when the list of those students who had school fees arrears was read, my name was always mentioned, always. But guess what? I was never chased away from school. I never went home because of school fees. Because Mr. Maneno, who was the principal, well, there was a principal and the head teacher. So Mr. Maneno told the head teacher, never chase Mercy away from school. Just let her stay in school. When her mom gets money, she will pay. And Mr. Maneno used to tell me, Mercy, kama mama hajapata pesa ya kulipa school fees, kama Mungu hajapatia mama pesa ya kulipa school fees, unataka atoe wapi pesa ya kulipa school fees? And he will also ask the head teacher the same question. So he kept me in school and he made sure I never went home for school fees until class 8. But one thing I used to tell God every single day I prayed was, God, I want, by the time I'm sitting for my KCP exam, all my school fees arrears to have been cleared. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I trust in you that you're going to do it for me. And honestly, that's what I used to do every single day. I prayed. And guess what? God works in some very, very mysterious ways, some ways that we can't even imagine. And some things happen in our lives, and we tend to question God. Why did you let this thing happen? Not knowing that He's actually doing it for a purpose, for you to receive your miracle. So yeah, this day came, I felt sick. It was few weeks to my KCP, my final exam, and I was really sick that I had to go home for medication. I had tonsils, I couldn't swallow anything. So I went home, it was on a Saturday. My mom got me strepsils. Yes, strepsils. Then she told me tomorrow, which was on a Sunday, you'll go with me and see my new church. She had just moved to another church. So I said, well, it's okay, we'll go. Sunday came, we went. And in this church, the Sunday school kids, before the service, before the preachings begin, they're given some time just to present whatever they have, whether it's a song or a dance or memory verses. So yeah, that day we were singing, and at first I didn't join the kids at the pulpit because I hadn't practiced and I didn't know the song. But then they asked me to join them, and I obeyed. You see, sometimes it's very good to obey. Normally, after the kids are finished presenting, the bishop comes to the pulpit, prays for the kids, and then the service begins. But that day, something unusual happened. The bishop came to the pulpit and said, while these kids were singing, I heard a voice of God telling me that if I want this church to continue, if I want this church to grow, then we should plant a seed. And we should plant a seed by sponsoring these two kids, paying for their school fees. And she pointed at me and someone else. Can you imagine? At that very moment, she opened them Samaria Mwema account and appointed, I guess, the chairman or the treasurer. Well, I can't really remember. And guess what? Immediately, I felt healed. Like the tonsils gone, everything gone. Like I'm healed. It was crazy because I realized that God had actually brought me home, not because of the sickness, but for me to receive my miracle in ways that I didn't even imagine. Like, who would have thought that me going to that church, I was actually going to receive a miracle? And thinking about this whole story brings in a lot of emotions, and it just shows how faithful God has been in my life, how faithful God is, and all He wants us to do is just trust in Him. Just ask Him whatever we want, and He'll actually give it to us because that's what He says. Of course, I cried. Of course, I cried. My mom cried because it was unexpected. And I went back to school on Monday. I was healed, I was totally fine. And few days before my KCP, guess what? All my school fees were cleared by the church. Honestly, by the time I sat for my KCP, I didn't have any fees arrears of even one bob. And that's how my prayer item was answered. That shows how faithful God is. Sometimes I just sit back and think about how I've survived all through from when I was a kid to now. And I just realized that it's been God all through because I can't really boast about what my family has. I can't really boast about what I have. I have nothing, but it's just been God all through, carrying me all through, providing for me. And everything that has happened in my life, it's taught me to have totally dependence on God. I've learned to be totally dependent on God. Whatever thing I need up to today, whatever thing I need, I just ask God, God, just do it for me. You've done it before. I know you're going to do it for me today. I sat for my KCP, and every time I used to pray, I would tell God, God, I want to go to this national school that wears brown shoes. In my mind, I had Kenya High School because my sister was in that school and I used to admire it. But then instead of being too specific to God and telling him I want to go to Kenya High School, then I used to say I want to go to this school that wears brown shoes. Well, I thought I'm being too specific, but I wasn't. Apparently, there are many other schools that wear brown shoes. When the results came, I had passed so well, but the school that I was called to, I didn't like it. And so I felt discouraged, I felt disappointed, and I started looking for other schools. And finally, through my aunt, I got to Bura Girls High School. Well, that's the time when Bura had just been made a national school. And guess what? It also wears brown shoes. And it was a national school. So actually, God had answered my prayers, but I think it's because I wasn't too specific to Him, telling Him that, God, I want to go to Kenya High School, not just any other school. I want to Kenya High School. But anyway, I joined Bura and I still kept on praying to God to give me a scholarship. I had tried applying for some. I applied for equity scholarship, but apparently I didn't get it. I still kept on praying and trusting God for a scholarship. Well, I didn't know how I'm going to get it, but I still trusted in Him because I didn't want my family to struggle paying for my school fees. And after I had joined, my mom received a call from someone saying that there's this woman who would like to sponsor a girl who has just finished her KCP and passed and joined Form 1. Imagine, eh? Of all people, I was recommended and I was chosen. Just how faithful God is. And that's how I got sponsored. Imagine she offered to pay for my school fees, for my fare to school, for my shopping, for my pocket money, like literally everything. Can you imagine? It's been crazy. My life has just been crazy and it's just been God all through. That was another prayer answered. And still, when I was in Form 1, I guess first term or second term, I was asked to write. Okay, we were a group of students. So we were asked to write an essay. Apparently, it was a scholarship application essay. I didn't know. So yeah, I wrote. And guess what? I got chosen again by education organization. I feel so blessed. Literally, I'm blessed. Thinking about all this makes me realize how blessed I am. I am favored, and education paid for my school fees from all through to Form 4. And after Form 4, I still prayed, I was still trusting in God that I want to pass, get government sponsored, because I knew I don't have the money to go to parallel, so I just have to pass.